It happens in a fraction of a second. A forklift takes a corner too tight, the tines pierce the side of a 55-gallon chemical drum, and corrosive liquid starts spreading across the concrete floor. I have spent years auditing industrial facilities, and I can tell you exactly what happens next. Whether this incident ends with a quick mop-up or a six-figure OSHA investigation depends entirely on the systems you built before that forklift ever turned the key. Too many facilities fail their inspections because they treat spill containment like a quick administrative checkbox. They buy a bright yellow spill kit, stick it in a far corner of the warehouse, and assume they are covered. Keeping a minor accident from becoming a massive fine is not about your reaction time. It is about the physical barriers and procedural rules you put in place long before the drum actually ruptured. If your facility stores or transfers chemicals, OSHA evaluates your compliance through three distinct legal lenses. First is Section 1910.106, setting strict engineering requirements for physical containment of flammable liquids. Second is 1910.120, known as HAZWOPER, strictly governing human emergency response. Third is the General Duty Clause. This is OSHA's catch-all safety net. If you have a recognized hazard, like storing incompatible reactive chemicals in the same basin, OSHA will use this clause to issue a citation, even if a hazard-specific standard does not explicitly name those chemicals. To see how these rules actually apply in practice, let's take a simulated walk through a typical facility floor. You will quickly see that compliance is an interlocking web. A physical failure in your storage zone instantly triggers legal liabilities regarding how your humans respond. This image outlines the container and portable tank storage rules under 1910.106D. We start our audit in the bulk storage room, where we draw a clear line between your primary container, the drum actually holding the liquid, and secondary containment, the backup system designed to catch leaks. The regulations limit drum storage to 60 gallons and portable tanks to 660 gallons to manage volume risk. To control those volumes, OSHA expects to see physical engineering controls. This means installing specialized spill pallets beneath loose drums and pouring concrete dikes or curbs around larger stationary tanks. When dealing with transfer sumps, the physical construction details matter. The floor must feature a minimum slope of 1/4 inch per foot leading toward an accessible collection point, and the walls and floor require an unbroken, chemical-resistant epoxy coating to prevent seepage into the concrete. A frequent trap we find in these rooms falls directly under the General Duty Clause. Facilities often place incompatible substances, like flammables and oxidizers, or acids and bases, into the exact same unlabeled secondary containment basin. Passive engineering controls exist to buy you time. If you compromise those barriers by mixing incompatible chemicals, that safety margin evaporates the second a leak starts, risking a severe chemical reaction. Leaving the static storage room, we move to the active transfer station. Fluid in motion presents your highest immediate risk because you are introducing human interaction, open valves, and pressurized hoses. Any volume transfer over 5 gallons requires active containment defenses. You need drip pans positioned directly under valves, manually engaged spill berms around the perimeter, and pre-staged absorbent pads ready to deploy. This is also where the hazard communication standard takes over. Every secondary container receiving that fluid must be clearly labeled, and safety data sheets, or SDSs, must be immediately accessible to the workers conducting the transfer. A perfectly engineered storage room offers zero protection here. If your active transfer zones lack proper labeling and immediate drip defenses, a minor slip of a wrench can easily escalate into a full-scale spill. Next, we check the emergency response station. Take a look at your own facility. Are your spill kits positioned right next to the high-risk transfer zones, or are they shoved behind boxes in a back room for safekeeping? A compliant kit under 1910.120 requires specific equipment. You need DOT-specified salvage drums to hold the compromised materials, and a sufficient quantity of absorbents rated for the exact chemical hazards present in that area. This diagram shows how OSHA splits your response into two paths. You must distinguish between an incidental spill, which your trained staff can mop up using routine procedures, and an emergency release, which poses a significant safety, toxic, or fire risk. If a spill crosses the threshold into an emergency release, Standard floor workers must evacuate. Only personnel specifically certified with up to 40 hours of HAZWOPER training are legally permitted to intervene and contain the release. Ordering an uncertified employee to clean up an emergency release endangers their life and guarantees a severe, willful OSHA citation against your company. When we finish an audit, the final verdict usually comes down to one principle. Robust physical engineering controls, like concrete dikes and epoxy sumps, are practically useless if your administrative controls and training programs are broken. To fix those gaps, implement this 5-point spill readiness checklist today. 1. Inventory and label all containers. 2. Verify your secondary containment capacity. 3. Confirm SDS access on every shift. 4. Relocate your spill kits to the actual hazard zones. And 5. Verify your HAZWOPER certifications are up to date. Checking your containment volumes and moving those spill kits out of the storage closet and into the active transfer zones are the fastest, most effective ways to improve your compliance right now. In industrial safety, hope is not a strategy. Meticulous, documented preparation is. If you want to keep your facility safe and OSHA compliant, subscribe to the HSEstudy YouTube channel for more deep dive compliance breakdowns. Stay safe and check your spill kits.